Well, good morning and welcome to the North Rockland High School. I'm Brigadier General Ray Shields of the New York National Guard, and today is the third of many First Responder Citizen Corps training program sessions that will be held throughout the state. We're going to kick things off here this morning with some comments from County Executive Ed Day, Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski, and Senator Bill Larkin, and then followed by the Governor. Then we'll take a short 10-minute break, followed by the first session, which will be structured towards preparedness. After the first session, we'll have another break in the second training session, which will be dealing with response and recovery. We'll end with any of your questions. We'll have some folks from the first responders here to answer any specific questions you have at the end. At the end of the day, each family will receive a Citizens Preparedness Corps response kit. These kits include a first aid kit, flashlight, AM/FM radio with batteries, safety goggles, and other essential necessities. It's a pleasure to be here today with all of you. Just by showing up to this training, you are stepping up and taking responsibility for the safety of your community, and that speaks volumes. In the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy, New York committed unprecedented resources to the recovery effort, determined to rebuild all the communities that were damaged and to ensure that we come back stronger. In his State of the State, Governor Cuomo announced the Citizen Preparedness Corps training program, which will train New Yorkers in the proper preparation for emergencies and disasters. These sessions will be led by men and women of the New York National Guard, working with experts from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, the Office of Emergency Management, and the Office of Fire Prevention and Control. Today is meant to serve as an introduction to responding to a natural or man-made disaster. The program will provide you with the tools and resources to prepare for emergencies and disasters, respond accordingly, and recover as quickly as possible to pre-disaster conditions. Your training shouldn't end there, though. The state has launched a new website, www.prepared.ny.gov, to serve as the digital home of the Citizen Preparedness Corps community. On it, you'll find information about additional trainings, more disaster preparedness tips, and ways to volunteer your skills in the event of a disaster. And we hope that after this session, you will all become more involved in existing community-based emergency activities here in your neighborhoods. I commend you all for coming out this morning, and it is now my pleasure to introduce Rockland County Executive Ed Day.
Thank you, General. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge a number of distinguished guests who have taken time to come here today. First, I'd like to recognize our state senator, Senator Bill Larkin, State Senator David Carlucci, Assemblywoman Ellen Jaffe, my neighbor, Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski, Assemblymember James Schoofus, Rockland County Clerk Paul Piperato, Rockland Legislator Harriet Cornell, Rockland Legislator Annie Paul, Orange County Legislature Minority Leader Jeff Berkman, gentleman you heard from before, General Raymond Shields, Brigadier General Raymond Shields. Can't get that wrong as a one-star. Supervisor of the Town of Haverstraw, Howard Phillips. Some of you all know, Superintendent Ileana Eckert, North Rockland Central School District. Thank you for having us, Ileana. Mayor Kelly Decker, City of Port Jervis. And last, Supervisor Susan Nimitz, Town of New Falls. If I missed anybody, I wasn't told about it. Anyway, I want to thank Brigadier General for leading these sessions. It's really a great idea, and I really appreciate your time in doing this. On behalf of the people of Rockland, I want to welcome Governor Cuomo, And to Rockland today, Governor. And it's also a pleasure again to have my Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski, my friend, and Senator Larkin here with us today. I also want to thank all of you for participating in today's training. By being here, you are demonstrating our commitment to making Rockland County safer and better prepared for the next storm. We all know Hurricanes Sandy and Irene were both devastating, yet they were inspirational to Rockland County because it brought out what we are all about here as Rocklanders. After these storms tore through our community, uprooting our infrastructure and blowing away houses and business, the people of this county came together to rebuild. Since then, our state, led by our governor, has led a relief effort providing the community with the resources we needed to recover. New York has been a true partner throughout the entire process by providing the financial and structural assistance we needed to move forward, and we have moved forward. Today, by virtue of this program, we are taking it one step further. We aren't just building back our houses and businesses. We are creating a new citizen first responder corps. These are men and women who will be trained in response techniques in the event of another natural disaster, and they will be yet another line of defense for our community. This is critical. Citizen involvement in crisis is a critical component of making sure this community is safe in a crisis. I want to thank the governor again and all our state representatives for their steadfast dedication and partnership during Rockland County's time of need. I am now pleased to introduce my friend, and I said my neighbor, Ken Zabrowski, our Assemblyman.
Thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me just first introduce a few of my colleagues that are here that weren't announced. I know Supervisor Alex Romack is here with us, as well as his town board members, George Holman, I saw, Stephanie Hausner, and we also have our newest county legislator, Barry Cantuit, from our home district in New City. Thank you, Barry. Governor, welcome to North Rockland, and welcome to Red Raider country. For those of you who don't know. We have all of Rockland here, certainly, but this is a proud community here in Haverstraw, and we thank you for taking the time out today. And thank you and your administration for putting on this program along with the National Guard, which is so critical. You know, it's no secret here in Rockland County that we've been hit hard by Mother Nature, as has the rest of the state. You know, from up in Stony Point to over in Suffern to down in Piermont, we've seen the aftermath of these storms, and we've seen what can happen in what you have called the new normal. You know, even before the storm hit, though, I think Governor Cuomo and his office has been with us. They've been there. They've been delivering food and supplies when necessary and preparing with us. You know, as me and the supervisors and the county executive, we deal with reservoir levels. The governor and his administration has put into effect a system where that we have the ability to call up and talk to his administration, talk to the emergency services personnel, and make sure that our needs are being met, not just before the storm, but during the storms and after the storms. You know, the governor has fought for additional aid with the federal government and Congress, which was critical in all the aftermath, and that he continues to fight for additional aid for our communities. You know, the state has taken unprecedented steps to ensure that all of our impacted communities here in Rockland County are able to get back on their feet as soon as possible, and that we build back our communities stronger. From deploying resources during the storms, securing federal aid, the state has been with us here in Rockland County every step of the way. And those in our families that are affected most along the shorelines know that the damage is not always physical. It's difficult emotionally, it's difficult mentally for all New Yorkers, and it's important that our residents know that our government's there, that our governor's there, and that's what I really want to thank Governor Cuomo about, is showing the leadership and letting those residents know that although we can't erase the effects of the storm, that your government's there, your government's listening, and your government's going to do everything it can to put your community back into effect. And last but not least, that's why it's so important that everybody's here today. Because although we can do the hard work as government, what we really need is the community to be prepared, the community to help each other, to help neighbors, and to be not only prepared but knowledgeable about these storms, and that we work together. And if there's anything that Rocklanders know in our little part of the state here, is that we can work together and that we can overcome everything. Rocklanders, New Yorkers, we're resilient, they're strong, they're building back ever than before, and this type of program here is a big part of the process. So once again, I just want to thank Governor Cuomo and his administration for coming here today. It's so very important that you go around the state and show all the communities what your administration is doing, what the National Guard can do, and that, although we don't have a snowstorm out there today, we've got a lot of snow on the ground, it's important that we prepare for those events even when the storm is not happening. And I think that's the most important thing. So without further ado, I want to introduce a colleague of mine, a friend that I've been able to work with over the past several years as he's come into Rockland County, and a person that knows a thing or two about emergencies for his long line of military service, my good friend, Senator Bill Larkin.
Governor, when you get a little older, you have to wear these glasses once in a while. I represent three counties: Ulster, Mississippi, Supervisor in New Paltz. I represent parts of Orange and now parts of Rockland. So I had an opportunity over the past few years to look and see who does the talking. Lots of them talk, but who does the mission? 23 years in the Army, there was a big message on my backboard, and it said, "Lead or get out of the way." Governor Cuomo has taken that message, and he is leading us to the future. You know that we've experienced 6 major crises in the past 3 years. You don't need notes to remember that. You saw homes destroyed. You saw communities destroyed. You saw people, businesses destroyed. But the message coming out of this administration is stop talking and start looking at how we work together. We started with Rise Up New York. Tremendous asset to our communities, to the whole state of New York. But we have to move forward on it. You heard General Shields talk about these packets. I don't know if anybody here was ever in the Cold War. Anybody here ever been in the Cold War? In Europe or that? Good. You remember your car was packed with this? You had a radio, you had batteries, you had this. People today don't think that's real. But as the governor said last week, this is real. We don't know when the next one is coming. That's why he's putting us all together. He wants us to be prepared. He doesn't want to pick up the paper or phone and hear that some young child was killed. Somebody's house was burnt out. The governor wants to be able to say, we work together. Key words, we work together. This isn't Republican or Democrats. This is New Yorkers. And we must stand together. Recovery isn't easy. Governor can stand here and tell you about the day he went to Schoharie, when the town hall, the water went right through it. They just paid their last mortgage notice and said to the governor, "Do you have any more mortgages?" But he addressed it. We have to be prepared. Here today, we're getting the start. There'll be more of these, as General Shields said, around. We're looking at armories, wherever we have. The governor's asking us, members, and you, the individuals, how do we help you address your community? This is the important thing. This isn't, don't leave here today and say, Governor was good, a couple other guys BS'd a little bit, and we're all happy. Governor's expecting you. I don't know what he's going to say. He said happy birthday to me the other day. But what we really need to say is we're going home. We're going to look at this packet, and we're going to make sure everybody in the house knows where it's at. And we're going to make sure we know where the children are at, because these things don't always happen at 9 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it's night, it's day. Where do we go? Where's the shelter? What's the shelter got? Governor's been working his you-know-what off, making sure that the armories that are there, Governor, thank you for the help on the Newburgh Armory. I think it's going to be a big asset to us. But just remember, I don't read the script. At my age, you don't read the script. I know the governor. I've known him for years. When he looks at you and tells you, I'm going to do something, take it to the bank. Ladies and gentlemen, a leader, a purpose person who thinks about others. People say, well, it's ego and it's this. Anybody who stands here and tells you he has no ego, he has no heart either, or she. I'm sorry, Susan. But, we're here today with a leader. I'd like everybody to stand and join me in welcoming and thanking the governor of this great state of New York.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. It's a pleasure to be back in Rockland this great Saturday morning. It's a pleasure to be in Red Raider country. Let's give them a round of applause. Right here in the gymnasium, they knew I was coming. You see how they moved the basketball net up? They were afraid that I was going to do some dunking on their head today. That's why they moved the basketball net. It's a pleasure to be back. Let's start by thanking Brigadier General Shields and the entire National Guard. When we need them, they are there. The National Guard is the state's workforce, and they come out always in the face of emergency. When everybody's running inside the house, everybody's running for shelter, they're coming out, and they really do extraordinary work. One more round of applause to the National Guard. County Executive Ed Day, we congratulate him. He's gotten off to a great start. We wish him well. We're full partners in the state. Pleasure to be with you. County Executive Ed Day. To the Assembly and Senate delegation that's here today, you heard them introduced, especially to Senator Bill Larkin and Ken Zabrowski. They are two of the finest, literally, in the state of New York. You're lucky to have them here. I'm lucky to be able to call them a friend. Senator Larkin, Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski, pleasure to be with you. Senator Larkin hit it on the head as usual. He doesn't need the notes because he believes it. It comes from his heart rather than from a piece of paper. State government in Albany wasn't working that well. Wasn't working that well for a lot of years. There was a lot of gridlock, what you see happening in Washington now with the gridlock and nothing happening. Washington didn't start gridlock. Albany started gridlock long before that. You remember all those years after year when the state would go to do a budget and the budget wouldn't get done on time and they would point fingers and they would play politics and it looked like a mess, frankly. And it was. We sat down 3 years ago and we said, look, it's not working and we have to try something different. And let's try putting the politics aside. Because, yes, we're Democrats, we're Republicans, we are whatever we are, but we're something more important first. We are representatives of the people of the state of New York, and we're New Yorkers. And let's act as New Yorkers, and let's not act through the politics. And it's been working, and the state government is working, and we're performing, and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. The senator's right, the county executive's right. Government is not supposed to be a debating society. Government is supposed to be a service bureau. Government is supposed to do things. Government is supposed to get things done, make things happen. Stop talking, stop debating, start doing, right? Progress. It's about moving forward. That's what that Tappan Zee Bridge is all about. They were talking about changing the Tappan Zee Bridge for 20 years. They petrified an entire generation with the talk of that Tappan Zee Bridge, right? Tappan Zee Bridge is falling down, it's falling down. I remember as a kid, I was petrified going over that Tappan Zee Bridge. And then you'd go over those metal plates. Those metal plates in the middle of the bridge? Like, why are those metal plates there? I'll tell you why, because they're covering a hole. That's why the metal plates are there. And then you'd watch the car go over that metal plate in front of you and watch the plate bounce just a little bit. And then you'd wonder what happens if it bounces just a little bit more. and we go right through that hole. Get ready, undo the seatbelt, because we're going to be swimming soon. And they talked about replacing the Tappan Zee Bridge literally for 20 years. Literally, that was not figuratively, literally 20 years, and it just never happened. And it became to me one of those metaphors of government. We have to fix it, it's falling down, it's more expensive to keep it up, we have to replace it, but yet year after year it doesn't happen. Why? Well, it's big, the bridge is big, it's a big project, it's controversial, you can't make everybody happy. And we just shied away from actually doing it. We said, when I first got elected, I said, let's talk about the big things that the state needs to get done that the state hasn't done. And one of the items at the top of the list was the Tappan Zee Bridge. And I was sitting there in the conference room, I remember like it was yesterday, is it helpful to the county executive maybe, and we were going down the list, and they said, well, the Tappan Zee Bridge was probably the biggest project in downstate New York that the state was supposed to do, but we can't do the Tappan Zee Bridge, so let's go on to the next one. And I said, well, hold on. I said, why can't we do the Tappan Zee Bridge? It's, well, you know, it's complicated. You have Westchester, you have Rockland, you have the river, you have the environmental groups, you have this. It's expensive. What do you do with the old bridge? Where do you put it? You know, it's big. It's just too big, so we'll go on to the next one. I said, no, let's do what needs to be done, and let's do it because it's hard and because it's difficult. Make a long story short, we announced we were going to replace the Tappan Zee Bridge. 1 year later, we broke ground on the new Tappan Zee Bridge to say we can do these things. So we're moving forward. Let me talk to you about today. As governor of the state of New York, I have a lot of headaches. I have the budget, which is a headache. I have the prison system, which is a headache. I have other elected officials who can be headaches, depending on the day. None in this room, by the way. Almost. I have a number of headaches. I'll tell you what keeps me up at night of all those headaches. Actually, what keeps me up at night is one of my daughters. She's a teenager, but that's separate. Besides my daughter, it is the emergencies. It's the disasters. I've been governor 3 years. We've had 9 federally declared disasters in 3 years. My father was governor of the state of New York for 12 years. He had a handful in 12 years, a handful. We've had 9 in 3 years. That's just about 1 every 4 months. And all different, all out of the blue, and any one of them, you could have seen dozens of people, at a minimum, lose their lives if it wasn't handled correctly. That, to me, is not only the greatest challenge for me in my position, and the greatest challenge for County Executive Day and the senators and the Assembly. It's the greatest challenge for every person in this room. It's a challenge for a citizen, it's a challenge for a parent. Why? This concept of extreme weather is real. It's not a politically debatable topic. You're going to have these great debates, what caused it? I believe in this theory, I believe in this theory. I don't care what caused it. What is true is the weather patterns are different today. That is an inarguable fact. And the extreme weather causes problems. We didn't have hurricanes in New York. That didn't happen here. We didn't have these rainstorms. We didn't have earthquakes. We didn't have it. The extreme weather is posing new challenges. So what do? First, you learn from it. We are going through these experiences, we learn from it. And then you come up with a program to make changes to address it. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're redesigning the way we design houses. You're going to be in some parts of the state of New York now, you're going to see houses on stilts, which you never saw in New York, right? I was just only down southeast. We're going to build houses on stilts. Some places we're not going to build houses. Some places we're going to remove the houses that were built. Why? Because we built in areas that we shouldn't have built. And Mother Nature comes back and reclaims those areas. So we're literally deconstructing homes in some areas. We're going to put in place the most sophisticated weather detection system in the United States of America. You know, when you talk about it, you hear the National Weather Service says this, The National Weather Service gets the information from the state weather detection system. We have had occasions, Irene and Lee. 2 years ago, storms Irene and Lee. Weather Service said it was going to hit New York City. We deployed all the assets from across the state to New York City. Trucks, everything, right down to New York City, from all across the state. That day, we're all waiting with bated breath. Irene and Lee pass. Nothing happens in New York City. Mayor Bloomberg does a press conference. Thank God, nothing happened. Everybody go back to work. Yeah, nothing happened in New York City. Hudson Valley gets devastated. Upstate New York gets devastated. The Weather Service was wrong. Storm shifted, didn't hit New York City, it hit upstate. That can't happen again. The most sophisticated weather detection system in the country is going to be in New York State. We're going to build it. We're building the first college in the country for emergency management and emergency responders. There is no college that teaches it. There are courses in colleges. We're going to have the first college. Why? Because I want the best trained emergency responders in the country, period. And I want them to be able to work together hand in glove. Police and fire, NEMS, state forces, local forces, all trained, knowing each other's protocol. Like a basketball team on court, you know exactly where the other people are going to be at all times. So we're doing everything that we can do. And I believe this is going to continue. I believe it's going to get worse. And I want to make sure that, God forbid something happens, we can say we did everything that we could possibly do. And today, I think we're probably doing the single most important thing that we can do, which is what? Train you. Train you. Yes, we have great first responders. And yes, they're going to be trained and they're going to have the right equipment. But you know who's really the first responder in your home? You. You know who the first responder is for your family? You. You know who the first responder is for your kids? You. And you need to know what to do. You need to know whether you should stay in that house or whether you should evacuate. You need to know whether you have the right equipment and the right supplies or not. So training you is key. Yes, our first responders are the best in the country already. But you know where I've seen the greatest acts of heroism and the greatest acts of assistance? Neighbor to neighbor. So training the people of this state, I believe, is the single best thing we can do. It's also an asset for you because you'll be more in control of your own life and in a better situation to take care of your loved ones and your children, etc. And then once you feel good about taking care of your house and your unit and your family, then you can help your neighbors. Then you can help the people on your block. Then you can help your community. And when we have that network of the most informed, empowered citizenry, we'll be able to handle anything in this state and anything that Mother Nature can throw at us. That's what today is all about. And today is the first step. You're not going to learn everything you need to know today, but it's going to be the first step. And I want to continue to build. I want to do more training. I want to do more networking. We're going to have a website that is going to be providing continuing updates so you can continue to hone your skills and learn more and more. Learn about other people who are in your community. Develop that network of strength and empowerment so you know exactly who can help if you need help. That's what today is all about, and using the National Guard and their great capacity to help us through this. I believe thoroughly in the people of this state. We are a special breed of people, New Yorkers. You know, they say we are tough as New Yorkers, and we can be tough as New Yorkers. You have to be tough to live in this place in some ways. But I have also seen how loving New Yorkers can be, and how generous New Yorkers can be, and how courageous New Yorkers can be, and how New Yorkers believe in community and the sense of interconnection and interrelation and mutuality, and how New Yorkers are there one for another when the chips are down. With this training, with this ability, I have total confidence that whatever the future holds, we're going to be there, we're going to be able to handle it, and we're going to make this state the Empire State once again. We're taking that step today. Thank you for being here, and God bless you.
Okay, that concludes the opening session. We'll take a short 10-minute break. There's refreshments over here on the side, and then we'll get started with the first